This is vibrant Kansas City, the heart of America, the gem of the Midwest. Kansas City is officially named the City of Fountains. It gets that title because of the abundance of water features in this metropolitan area, as well as sculptures, parks and boulevards, green spaces, and other attractive features. Kansas City is known for its beauty, entertainment, history, culture, sports, and food. This city that sprang up on the bend of the Missouri River became the sprawling metropolis that spreads into two states, divided down the middle by a thin border. It began as a river stop for supply boats and an outlet for fur traders. And yes, to the confusion of visitors, there are two separate cities bearing the same name, residing side by side across the state line in the same metropolitan area. To those who ask if Kansas City is in Missouri or Kansas, the answer is both, but they are two separate cities. Who's to say what the founders of the two settlements were thinking when they picked the same name? They probably didn't imagine that the two towns, butting up against each other along the border, would spread into one vast metropolis. Or perhaps they just got a kick out of creating the confusion. Anyway, they're probably still laughing at us from beyond the grave. Kansas City, Missouri is the hub of the metropolitan area. This is Ed Nebeker, and I'm in the Crossroads District standing near the grounds of the Liberty Memorial and World War I Museum. Plans for this monument were drawn up just after the Great War. Construction began soon after, and it opened in 1926. This spot gives us an outstanding view northward into much of the city. Standing on the upper deck of the monument, we have a panorama into the downtown and Crossroads districts. The Missouri River is out of sight, but its channel is just beyond the downtown buildings. The most prominent building in the foreground is Union Station, built in 1914 in the Beaux-Arts architectural style. The tall Art Deco structures behind it come from the 1920s and 30s, when Tom Pendergast ran this city and promoted mass construction downtown. These buildings include City Hall, the Jackson County Courthouse, the Power and Light Building, and others. The tallest building in the skyline is One Kansas City Place. This dark glass building was constructed in 1988. At 42 stories, One Kansas City Place is the tallest fully occupied building in the state of Missouri. Only the Gateway Arch in St. Louis is taller, but only by 7 feet. The dual dome building over my shoulder is the Kaufman Center for Performing Arts. Open in 2011, it provides for ballets, operas, symphonies, orchestras, and other musical performances. The four spires behind it are the pylons of Bartle Hall Convention Center. The Gold Dome Church to the west of Bartle Hall is the 19th century Cathedral of the Immaculate Conception. We'll move to the right side of the panorama. That wedge-shaped structure is the Western Auto Building. It is an iconic building in the city because of the memorable sign on top. And of course, the structure closest to us is the Liberty Memorial itself. Looking upward, we see the top of the memorial. The tower is 217 feet tall. With the structure behind us and the tower combined, the top reaches 265 feet, or 81 meters, into the air. Reflecting further on what the city founders probably did not realize in the early 19th century, a few other things come to mind. For one, it was in the day when the Missouri border was the westernmost boundary of the United States, and Kansas wasn't even a territory yet. The original settlers probably did not foresee that Kansas City would become the most landlocked city in the country. This is Middle America, standing in the center of the continent. This centrality is more than just in geography. Kansas City is the ultimate place where East meets West and North meets South in many other aspects as well. This Conestoga wagon in the Westport area near the state line is a tribute to the thousands of such wagons that crossed through here nearly 200 years ago, bearing thousands of families with their hopes fixed on the promising West. Most of the frontier trails funneled through here, and Westport was the last outpost for provisions before venturing into the great unknown. Goods were transported up the Missouri River and then hauled 3 miles from the riverbank to the supply posts at Westport. They came from all over the existing United States. Standing at this border in the 1830s, Kansas City was the far west, and the city grew. Over the next 30 years, Kansas City was the dividing point between the North and the South. Standing at the same spot in the 1860s, the nation was troubled by a brutal civil war. Kansas City survived the conflict, and their homogeneity created a unique city culture. Considering again the things that would surprise the early inhabitants if they saw today's world, one other thing comes to mind. Kansas City grew into one of the most beautiful cities in the country. Certainly the folks of the 19th century post-Civil War would be astonished by that claim. They experienced a dirty city in their days. The railroad boom of the 1860s brought on a thriving cattle industry. The long-suffering residents were inflicted with the sights and smells of cattle yards, butcher houses, meat packing warehouses, and so forth. Turn-of-the-century visionaries, beginning in the 1890s, decided to clean up the city, beautify it, and lift it out of its ailments. They turned Kansas City into an impressive, agreeable place to live. What makes Kansas City vibrant? Ask a sports fan, and you'll get championship football with the Chiefs and championship baseball with the Royals. Ask a food enthusiast, and you'll get barbecue with the number of hot spots that make Kansas City the barbecue capital. Ask a history buff, and you'll get a layout of the early years, a telling of political boss Tom Pendergast's control in the 1920s and 30s, a tour through the mob-controlled decades, and a presentation of the cultural achievements on to the present day. Ask an admirer of fine culture, and you'll get the most extensive collection of fine art ever assembled in a mid-sized city. The names of Picasso, Renoir, Monet, Rembrandt, and many others are at home at the Nelson-Atkins Museum of Art. Ask a music enthusiast, and you'll get the home of jazz, the music that thrived during Prohibition under Kansas City's open city fortitude. Jazz was alive at 18th and Vine. Today, the district also honors the achievements of the Negro Leagues of American baseball. Ask an appreciator of a pleasant hometown environment, and you'll get a beautiful park-like city, and all that the title City of Fountains implies. Kansas City joined the City Beautiful movement in the 1890s, when August Meyer, a city planner, and George Kessler, a landscape architect, mapped the emerging street grid and promoted the city's transformation. The Paseo Boulevard was their design, with its wide green medium, bubbling fountains, and nestled lakes. A favorite destination is Swope Park, 2,000 acres that straddle the Blue River. Opened in 1896, it is one of the largest municipal parks in the country. It houses the Kansas City Zoo, Starlight Theater, Swope Memorial Golf Course, the Swope Soccer Village Sports Complex, the Lakeside Nature Center, and many other features. Honor goes to Thomas Swope, the reclusive wealthy bachelor who donated the land to the city for a place of recreation and enjoyment. The Country Club Plaza was the first shopping complex in the country built with the automobile in mind. Opened in 1923, its layout and design were inspired by the Moorish revival architecture of Seville, Spain. The Giralda Tower was patterned after its namesake in that Spanish city. The Seville Light Fountain and other unique buildings also claim their ancestry from that ancient municipality. This district is such a favorite that locals just call it the Plaza. Kansas City also makes a fantastic backdrop for a mystery. Check out my cozy mystery novel series, A Kansas City Mystery. The first two books are The Final Amen and The Cow Who Knew Too Much. You'll find them on my website, ednebeker.com, or order them through your favorite book retailer, Amazon or Barnes & Noble. Kansas City holds its own mysteries as well. Why did the 1909 murder of Thomas Swope, the philanthropist who gave us Swope Park, lead to 4 trials with no resolution? Why was Union Station the scene of the renowned Kansas City Massacre, the 1933 shootout between law enforcement and fugitives? Did Tom Pendergast, the powerful political boss who controlled the government in the 1920s and 30s and built many of the prominent buildings downtown, bury the bodies of his enemies beneath the basin of Brush Creek? I'll answer these questions and many more like them in subsequent videos. Please subscribe to this Vibrant Kansas City channel to stay up to date, and click like if you like this video. Thank you for your interest in this fascinating city.